Okay, so this is just another 15-minute sequence where we're going to connect to all parts of our core. Come into a child's pose, have your knees wide, your feet together, and just take a moment to connect to your breath. Nice deep breath in through the nose and exhale through the nose. Allow the front of the body, the whole abdominal region to be nice and soft. Enjoy the fact right now that you're not doing anything with that part of the body. You're just allowing everything to settle and to have that sense of arrival onto your mat. So if you think of your core as a cylinder that wraps around the whole circumference of your torso, we're going to strengthen not just the front of your core, but also the sides and the back as well. So think obliques, think your quadratus lumborum, or rather your love handles. So it's a pretty much all-round practice for your abdominal region. So let's start in Sphinx pose. So prop yourselves up on your forearms, press down through your hands, make sure the elbows are just underneath your shoulders. Now pull the chest forward as you isometrically try to drag the hands back, pull the navel away from the floor. And now roll up, lifting your ribs off the floor, the hip points and the tops of the thighs. Staying on your knees, try to round your back. Now as you inhale, dropping down back to the floor, lift the chest forward. Now as you exhale, roll on up, lift the ribs, the hip points, the tops of the thighs. Exhale as you roll back down to Sphinx. Inhale, this is 3, we're going to do 6 of these. Roll back up. As you exhale, drop the hip points, the ribs back to the floor. Inhale as you roll back up, lift the hip points, stay on your knees. Exhale, roll back down, pulling the chest forward. Inhale, roll back up, ribs lift, top of the thighs lift. Exhale, roll back down, pull the chest forward. Inhale, one more. As you roll back up, try to round your back, tuck your tailbone under. And as you exhale, roll back down, pulling the chest forward. So now bringing your hands back, come into a cobra pose. So bring your elbows in, hand underneath the shoulders, firm down through the feet, press down the hands to lift the chest. Back of the neck nice and long. And then as you exhale, lower down. Now locust pose, Shalabhasana. Reach the arms straight back, press through your hands to lift your head and your chest off of the floor. And then exhale, release down. This time, same thing, lift the head and chest, but lift the feet off the floor and lift your hands up if you can. Interlace the fingers and come up a little higher. Reach back through the arms, and as you exhale, release. Come back to your Sphinx. That's it. As you inhale, rolling back up, lift the ribs, the hip points, the tops of the thighs. As you exhale, roll back down, pull the chest forward. Inhale, rolling on up. You should really feel it in your lower abdomen here. As you exhale, roll back down. Inhale, we have 6 here. Roll back up, press through your feet, stay on your knees. Exhale, roll down, pull the chest forward. A few more. Inhale, lift the ribs, the hip points, the tops of the thighs. Exhale as you come back down. Inhale again as you try to round your back as you lift. Exhale as you drop back to the floor. Inhale, lift the ribs, the hip points, the tops of the thighs. Now here, try to lift your knees. Forearm plank, press through your hands, draw the navel back towards your spine. Hold it here, and then as you exhale, roll everything down to the floor. Little cobra pose, press through the hands, lift the chest, and then release. Shalabhasana, palms facing down, reach the arms back, lift the head and chest, and then release back down. One more, inhale. Lift the feet off the floor, lift the hands off the floor, interlace the fingers, reach through the arms, try to lengthen the tailbone, lengthen through the feet. Maybe take the arms forward, come up a little higher, and then release. Good, so just take a moment here And then prop back onto your forearms. Another round of Sphinx. It's gonna burn, I know. So when you're ready, as you inhale, roll back up. Lift the hip points, the tops of the thighs up. As you exhale, roll back down. As you inhale, push down through the hands, round your back. As you exhale, roll everything back down. As you inhale, ribs lift, hip points, tops of thighs. As you exhale, everything falls back down. Inhale, lift the ribs, tops. As you exhale, drop the thighs, the ribs to the floor. Inhale, push through the elbows, the hands, round your back. Exhale, roll back down, lift the chest. Inhale, come back up, lift the hip points. As you exhale, roll back down. One more as you roll on up. Maybe lift the knees, forearm plank. Rock back and forth so you're coming a little further on your toes. Hold it here, navel to spine. If you can, forearm side plank. Bring the right hand in to the left side. Take the left arm up. Either stack your feet or bring your top foot over in front. Back to forearm plank. Left fingers come in now. Swivel over to the right. Take the right arm up. So lift the hips up as high as you can. Lift the waist up. Back to your forearm plank. Forearm side plank. Lift the hips. Lift the waist. Maybe lift the top foot if you can. It's such an important pose here. Best way to strengthen one of the main posterior and lateral muscles, the QL, also known as your love handle, which is super weak for a lot of us. I know it's hard. Forearm plank. And when you're ready, push back by walking your feet in to a dolphin pose. So staying on your forearms, have a little bend through your knees if you need. Keep steady with your breath and steady with your focus. Swivel the feet back to your forearm plank. Drop to your knees, back to your Sphinx. So as you inhale here, lift the ribs, the hip points, the tops of the thighs. As you exhale, roll back down. 6 more. As you inhale, roll back up. As you exhale, roll the hips down, the ribs down. As you inhale, now lift the ribs, hip points, tops of the thighs. Exhale, roll back down, lift the chest forward. Inhale, roll back up. As you exhale, roll back down, pulling the chest forward. Inhale, roll back up. Exhale, roll everything back down. Inhale, roll back up. As you exhale, roll back down. One more, inhale. Maybe coming on up, lifting your knees if you can, swiveling to forearm side plank. So lifting the hips up, lifting the waist. Come over to the right now, other side, taking the top arm up. Back down to your forearm plank. Bring your left knee to your left upper arm. Bring your right knee to your right upper arm. Left knee to left upper arm. Right knee to right upper arm. Drop the hips. Back to your plank. Coming back into your dolphin. Steady breath, steady focus. If you can, press back up to your downward facing dog. Stretch it out. So now for the last little sequence we're going to do, swivel the toes back into a plank, something called plank squares. They just sort of made up the name. So bring your right knee to your right elbow. Slide it down to your right wrist. Over to your left wrist, up to the left elbow. Right elbow, right wrist, left elbow. Right elbow, right wrist, left elbow, right wrist, left elbow, right elbow, and then back, downward facing dog. I know, it's difficult and it burns. Okay, let's do the other side. So, swivel forward to your plank, left knee, left elbow, down to left wrist, over to right wrist, right elbow, left wrist, right elbow, left wrist, right elbow, left wrist, right elbow, left elbow, and back, downward facing dog. I know it's so difficult, but just breathing through it. There's no other way out of this. It's super fast. So come back to your plank, right elbow, right wrist, left wrist, left elbow, right wrist, left elbow, right wrist, left elbow, right wrist, left elbow, right elbow, and back, downward facing dog. Back to your plank, left knee, left elbow, down to left wrist, right elbow, left wrist, right elbow, left wrist, right elbow, left wrist, right elbow, left elbow, and back, downward facing dog. And release. So come all the way down to the floor. So back to locust pose. Reach the arms straight back. Firm the feet. Press the pubic bone down. And then take the hands up off the floor, lift the head and chest, take the feet up off the floor, think elongation rather than height. Interlace the fingers, reach back through the feet. If you can now, take the arms forward, the whole back side of the body is working, you're working your glutes as well, and then release. Okay, so from here, just take a moment, and then press back up. Come over and through to a seated position. We're going to finish with something that I call a core connector, which we did in the previous video as well. So laying down on your back, first of all, bring your feet to the floor, have your knees right over your feet, and then take the feet off the floor, lift the head, lift the chest, and reach through the fingers. So lightly draw the navel back towards your spine. We're going to try to hold this here. If you can take the feet a little further forward, then do so. Make sure the back doesn't arch. It's a really, really good pose for strengthening the very deep part of your core, the transverse abdominis. And then release it down. So again, the idea here isn't to get your legs straight all the way out. The idea is to hold it. So we'll try it one more time. So come on up. Reach through the fingers, perhaps take the feet a bit forward towards the front of your mat. Make sure that the back doesn't arch. I just drawed my knees in a little bit because I could feel my back arching. Pull the navel back towards your spine. Again, try to just breathe through it. It will be over super soon. The only way out of these things is through it. So keep pulling the knees in, engage your pelvic floor, and then release. Okay, so I think one more like this. So come on up, third time lucky. So take the head and the chest off the floor, reach the feet forward if you can. Try to engage your pelvic floor, try to engage your inner thighs. Draw the navel back towards your spine. Breathe steadily, breathe smoothly, see if you can hold it a little longer. And then release. Lovely. We're just going to come over now back into a cobra to stretch out the front of the core before we finish. So lightly press through your hands, hug your elbows in, lengthen through the chest. Maybe trying an upward facing dog to get a little more length through the core if you feel that that's needed. Pulling the shoulders back, moving the chest and the sternum forward. And then release. Back to your child's pose. And relax. And that's it. So you've worked the whole circumference of your core. We focus quite a bit on the back side of the body, also on the sides of the body. If you can take a minute also of Shavasana, just to let yourself settle again. And namaste.